The red lights go out, and we are racing. The start is incredibly tight. It's hard to track all the position changes as drivers go wheel to wheel, trying to break through the pack as quickly as possible. Laguna Seca, the second race of round 1 of the F4 Challenge. This time, we have 40 minutes of intense racing and 1 mandatory pit stop, as the fuel won't last the distance. Cleanly and without contact, the drivers approach the corkscrew and navigate it even 3 wide. Incredible skill on track. But let's go back to the start in the mid-pack. Lose a position at the beginning and immediately gain 2 back. Andy Philpott gets a poor launch and is passed by Kyra. But Andy finds a gap in turn 1, counterattacks, and reclaims the lost ground. Ahead, Dmitro Zalozhnikov has a poor exit due to a battle, allowing Andy to catch and pass him as well. Another overtake for Andy. What a start. There is such tight racing at the front that drivers are losing a lot of time. So, what do 2 strong pilots decide to do early on? They show strategic mastery. Since fuel won't last and everyone has to pit, why waste time fighting in traffic? They decide to pit early, refuel, and emerge in clean air to pump out qualifying laps while the rest of the pack slows each other down. Being a top driver isn't just about skill on track, it's about strategic thinking. Towards the end of lap 1, Dmitro Zalozhnikov makes a braking error, locks the front left, and has to slow down significantly to avoid a collision. Kyra instantly capitalizes on the opportunity, passing Dmitro. Maksym latches onto the opportunity and passes him as well. One mistake cost Dmitro 2 positions. The battle continues, now with 4 leading actors. Charles Wimbley, Illia Rakitin, Scott Edwards, and David Dasilva head down the main straight. Tight fighting. Charles passes Illia for P6. Scott initially gets ahead of David but loses momentum when Maksym Dzhantimirov is alongside, allowing David to retake the position in turn 2. Incredible racing. Noah Osbaldeston and Devine are fighting for the lead, but skill is on Noah's side this time. With a better exit, he overtakes Brandon before the corkscrew to lead the race. Meanwhile, Andy Philpott tries to pass Illia Rakitin but lacks the momentum to complete the move. However, approaching the corkscrew, Illia brakes late, almost clips Charles Wimbley and slows down. This gives Andy a chance. Into the next corner, a very optimistic attempt from Andy ends in contact. No damage, masterful car control, but momentum is lost. Kyra slips by, dropping Andy to 9th. Gergo Danko, starting from the pits, catches Richard Lucas and passes him for P13. For Illia Rakitin, the second race is déjà vu. Turn 1 again, another mistake, another spin, another loss of positions, dropping from 7th to 13th. 35 minutes left to recover or make more mistakes. The finish line will tell. While Illia counts his lost positions, Andy Philpott gains 2, first from Kyra Krasenberg, who ran wide, and then from Illia himself, who had the best seat in the house to watch the pass. A mistake on the corner entry costs Maksym Bunich 3 positions, dropping him to 14th. David Dasilva chases Maksym Dzhantimirov for P3. They approach the corkscrew. Maksym mistakes his braking, locks up, and misses the entry. Loss of speed, David passes instantly. Scott Edwards also takes advantage, slipping past Maksym. Kamto, Chukwureh, and Eldar Noohi are not just catching the pack, they are fighting each other. Eldar attacks in the corkscrew, and Kamto defends well, holding him off. At the end of the lap, they catch Richard Lucas, who wisely decides not to get in the middle of this fight. Gergo Danko, recovering from the pit lane start, is now behind Roman Sorakivsky. Gergo passes him in the corkscrew for P10. Following Gergo, Illia also passes Roman, who decides not to fight and lets Illia go to chase down Gergo. Still, lap 5, interesting battle between Maksym Dzhantimirov and Charles Wimbley. Maksym is trying to hold P5. Stylish but slow through the corkscrew from Maksym invites an attack from Charles, but no, good defense. Down to the final corner, another look from Charles, but Maksym defends successfully again. Kyra Krasenberg pressures Andy Philpott heading to the corkscrew. Andy makes a mistake, snaps sideways. He catches the car, but P7 is gone, handed to Kyra. After the early pit stop, Kamto and Eldar are fighting not just the clock, but each other. Eldar risks it all around the outside. But it's not that simple. He goes 4 wheels off track. Overtake completed off track. He didn't return the position, so following a protest from Kamto, Eldar received a points penalty. Remember Charles versus Maksym? It's still going. Scott Edwards ahead is slightly slower, holding Maksym up. Charles capitalizes perfectly, attacks in the final corner, pulls alongside, and claims the inside line for turn 1. The defense cracks. Charles takes his position. Dmitro Zalozhnikov mistakes the corkscrew, cutting straight through the gravel. Gergo Danko and Illia Rakitin catch him quickly. A defense attempt delays Gergo only briefly. Dmitro decides to let his teammate Illia through, as he has a better shot against Gergo. "400 meters behind the leaders, Andy Philpott fights Kyra Krasenberg for P7. Andy attacks, looks like he runs wide. But no, it gives him a better exit speed, and Kyra slows to concede the position safely. But Charles versus Maksym isn't over. Counterattack from Maksym before the corkscrew, and he reclaims P5. Intense racing for the fans. Eldar and Kamto, the early pitters, have caught Maksym Bunich. Eldar gets a better exit and passes Bunich on the brakes. Thought Maksym versus Charles was done? Not a chance. Maksym defends the inside but drifts left. Andy says, "Thank you," and dives inside. But he goes too deep, and Maksym executes the switchback to retake P5. Charles is chasing again. Kamto also needs to pass Maksym Bunich. Looks like he got it in turn 1, but Bunich has a better exit and holds on. However, Kamto executes a switchback in the next corner and finally gets ahead. Eldar Noohi continues his charge. Time to pass Roman Sorakivsky. Set up, attack, pass. Quick and simple. P12 for Eldar. Now it's Kamto's turn. Roman makes a mistake in the corkscrew, cuts it, loses speed, and Kamto goes through. This time, Dmitro Zalozhnikov stands in Eldar's way. Eldar positions left, feinting an attack. It was a trick. Dmitro misses the corner, hits the gravel, catches the car, but loses the position. P11 for Eldar. A lap later, Kamto is in Dmitro's attack range. Needs to pass quickly before Eldar escapes. And Kamto does it in turn 5. Bravo, now the chase for Eldar continues. Meanwhile, the long battle between David Dasilva and Brandon Devine concludes. Brandon's defense cracks under pressure. A mistake in the corkscrew, David gets a better exit and passes. But Brandon doesn't give up. Counterattack in the final corner, but David defends the new position well and pulls away. Bravo, David. P2 is yours. Scott Edwards mistakes the corkscrew. Charles Wimbley looks to pass, but Scott defends. The battle rages down the straight. Charles attacks again, this time successfully passing on the inside for P4. Illia, Rakitin, and Gergo Danko have pitted and now need to clear Maksym Bunich, who is slow out of the final corner. Illia pulls alongside. Will Gergo make it too? Illia attacks inside. Gergo squeezes into the gap as well, and Kyra Krasenberg exits the pits right behind them. Crowded track. Bunich loses 2 spots and now has Kyra to deal with. Andy Philpott versus Scott Edwards, pure racing art. Andy gets a better exit and passes Scott before the fast left. Scott responds with a counterattack before the corkscrew and retakes the spot. Andy wants to respond with an undercut, being faster, but Scott spots it and pits as well. They emerge right in front of a long-running duel between Illia and Gergo. Illia is under constant pressure from Gergo, so he needs to pass Andy Philpott as soon as possible. Andy has a poor exit, and Illia closes in. Andy moves to defend. This slows them both, and Gergo attacks in the corkscrew. The moment comes. Illia goes wide in the final corner, loses momentum, and Gergo capitalizes perfectly. Side by side down the straight, and Gergo Danko finally takes P9. Andy Philpott, Scott Edwards, and Gergo Danko race towards turn 1. Scott defends inside. Andy and Gergo try the outside. It doesn't work. Gergo switches back in turn 3. Slight contact with Andy, 3 wide through turn 4. Scott tries the switchback and slams into the collision between Andy and Gergo. What a crash! All 3 are out. Safety car deployed. Restart. Eldar Noohi leads away, weaving to break the slipstream. The pack slows for turn 1 and crash again. Noah Osbaldeston dives too aggressively, hits the curb, launches, and rams Maksym Dzhantimirov. They collect Illia Rakitin, another safety car. While it deploys, Charles Wimbley manages to spin Dmitro Zalozhnikov. Great race, but a chaotic ending. Here are the standings after round 1 of the F4 Challenge 2025 by the Ukrainian Racing League. If you enjoyed the highlights, please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to join our league, all links are in the description. We'd love to see you. And finally, interviews with the podium finishers of the 40-minute race.
David Dasilva. David, a 3rd place in the feature race. How would you sum up your feelings right now?
Honestly, pretty good.
Excellent.
You know, it's not the top step of the podium, but it is a step on the podium and a step in the right direction for me. I haven't really driven these F4 cars in quite some time, so it's a pretty great P4 in the sprint, and then P3. I got some good points today.
Absolutely, absolutely. Always good to be scoring points, especially at the start of a championship. How do you rate your chances? Then have any reflections on the course of this this first round? How do you rate your chances of getting yourself a podium overall at the end of the season?
I reckon I could definitely shoot for the 2nd or 3rd step at the end of the season. There's some really fast guys out here already, so I know it's definitely going to be a tough battle no matter what. But anything's possible, and that's why we have a couple rounds to settle it. So.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I mean, what was going on in the race for you? Any drama? I did see you having a good battle with Devine there. How did you see that one from your seat?
Yeah, I mean, overall, it was kind of difficult because some of the faster guys like Noah and Eldar were driving off, and especially in the sprint race, I was able to keep up with them for a little while, but there was a little mistake here or there from myself that really made it tough to keep up with them. But it was definitely nice to have that little battle with Brandon. He and I are friends of a couple of years now, so we always have kind of great battles like that.
Absolutely. Well, that sounds really cool. A lot of practice went into this one. I know you said you haven't turned a wheel in anger for some time in the F4s, but did you commit a lot of time, or do you feel like you've got more incentive now to really push for this championship?
Yeah, definitely for this round. I signed up for the season last night, so I didn't really have a whole lot of time to practice, but definitely going forward, I'm going to put a lot more effort with the team, and we're going to do a lot more practices.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations. If there's anyone you need to thank, then please do. But a really successful 4th and 3rd today. Well done, David Dasilva. Welcome to the comms booth, Kamto Chukwureh. That was a fabulous day's racing for you. How did you see it? And congratulations for your double podium there.
Yeah, thank you. The first race wasn't that great. I had a bit of not an incident, but like I got held up, and then I almost lost 3rd place on the line to the first one on like lap 2 or 3. But they crashed into turn 1, so I got 2nd place. Got overtaken again afterwards because I just didn't have the pace of whoever was P1. I don't know his name, but the second race was better. I got lucky with whatever Noah I think it was pitting under the safety car. I was going to do the same thing, but then I realized like because the pit lane was closed the lap I wanted to do it, everyone behind me caught up. So I felt like if I just stayed out, all I have to do is defend. So on the first restart, I did have to defend because I almost got overtaken by 2 cars into turn 1, and then I got saved by that second safety car, which just helped me keep P2 to the line.
Fantastic, yeah. And what was your read of the sprint race? Because you saw what went down in front of you, and it could be that you end up gaining a position and possibly getting the win from the sprint there at the end. It's fascinating to hear from you about that situation.
Yeah, I hope he, for my sake, he gets a penalty so I get first place. But like, obviously, I don't wish penalties on other people. But like, if it benefits me, then like, I'm all for it. But
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah. So my goal was wanting to work with him to just catch up to Noah up until the last lap and then try fight. But he was too quick for me, so I was only able to stay in the system. I couldn't actually overtake him. So when he overtook and took out Noah, it helped me a bit because obviously I was able to get second place, and I think maybe he had damage, so I was able to stick within like a second. So if he gets like a 5-second penalty, that will help the messy qualifying I had.
Absolutely, yes. So, talk to me about that strategic option then. You started in the mid pack, obviously, with the reverse grid for the feature race. Was it plan A to pit, or was there damage or contact that forced your hand there on the first few laps when you made that really early pit stop?
No, usually when it's reverse grid, if I'm standing in the middle or at the back, I will always try to pit on the first lap because
Interesting.
of how much it's bunched up at the front.
Yeah.
If you pit and undercut everyone, you're gonna come out ahead of all of them. So when I did that, I had I think 14 seconds to P4, whereas if I stood with them all, I would have not been able to take them because it's very hard to actually overtake, and then I would have lost out to the person who won the race because he also pit a lap 1 as well. So usually, if it's a reverse grid, I'm going to pit lap 1 just to avoid any chaos.
Very clever, very clever. Love it. Well, congratulations, Kamto. Great to see you out there, and it must feel great to see the amount of practice I'm sure you've put in paying off. So congratulations, double podium at very least. I'm sure that represents a really good return for you. Great start to the championship.
Absolutely. Thank you, and thank you to my team Alpha Esports as well.
Brilliant, brilliant, absolutely. Eldar, come in. Do we have you?
Yes, I think now.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, congratulations on that feature race win. That was hard fought. I'm sure you had to do a lot of passing in the early stages of the race after that early pit stop. But ultimately, it was that early pit stop that kind of bought you that speed in the end, and you were able to overcome Noah Osbaldeston before the safety car came out.
Yeah, I mean, the pace was good. I thought I could save some fuel as well, so I just pitted extremely early because and my fuel calculator was saying that I do need to save a tiny bit of fuel, and I was saving fuel behind who was pitting with me as well, yeah, because we both had very good pace, and we was like P1 and P2 and at the end as well. So yeah, I don't know what happened to Noah in the end, why he pitted. Maybe he didn't take enough fuel, but very unfortunate with that because I think he had a very good pace as well, and it would have been a fun few last laps. It was a little bit of a shame that it ended under safety car, but it is what it is.
It's motor racing, isn't it? But I can't not talk to you about the conclusion of the sprint race. How did you see it from your seat? It looked like you made a late move to go down the inside and make contact with the curb first, which kind of pitched you sideways. I mean, what was your view on that contact at the end of the sprint?
Yeah, I mean, I have to look again at it, but I think it was a little bit of a late move. That's true, and it was a move out of desperation. I'm not gonna lie. The time was running out.
Yep.
You know, the clock was ticking, and I made a lot of mistakes in the start of the sprint. I was very frustrated with myself in the beginning with a bad start in both of the races actually. But yeah, it was just a little bit of a desperation move.
Understood. Well, I mean, you came back through adversity, certainly through that feature race. How are you feeling overall? I mean, I would imagine you've certainly managed to get a double podium, if not a double win, once everything shakes out. So you must be feeling pretty good.
Yeah, I feel good now for the next one. Focusing on the next one now.
straight away. Of course, typical racing driver. Don't savor the moment. Go straight into planning for the next race. Well, that's fantastic to hear. Anyway, it looks like it's going to be a fabulous championship in front of us. Congratulations to Eldar Noohi. Fantastic to hear from you and to watch you driving as well. Great racing. Well, thanks everybody. It's been fantastic to be here, to be with you, and of course to have a good chat with our racing drivers as well. Thanks to Vasil, thanks to the Ukrainian Racing League, and we will catch you in 2 weeks' time.